Okay, so hello and welcome to another online event with the Dublin Coding School. This evening, we're going to be looking at full stack web development and having a bit of an introduction and a free lesson on that with our lecturer, Deepali, who I'll introduce in a moment. Just before we do, just for anyone who's tuning in for the first time, maybe let you know who we are. So we're the Dublin Coding School. We have courses for people who are looking to change their careers running in Dublin. We'll have a facility, we hope, in a few months or next year. I know when it's safe, obviously with COVID, but at the moment, all the courses are online. We have short courses in full stack web development, data analytics, software testing, and the basics of coding, all designed for people who are changing their careers. We also have a career center. So all of our graduates are automatically enrolled into the career center, and there we help them with their CV. We also help you with your online presence, and we partner with companies who are hiring entry-level roles in web development, data analytics, software testing, and we share the CVs of our graduates with these companies and look to get you a role. And if you do get an interview, whether through us or yourself, we also help you get ready for that interview. So the day before, we'll have a consultation with you over Zoom and be helping you get ready with those questions to try and get your role. So that's a bit about what we do. I'll talk a bit more about that maybe at the end of the broadcast. But I'd like to now just quickly introduce Deepali, who is our lecturer in full stack web development. Maybe hand over to her for her to give you just a bit about her background and her educational background and where she's been working. Deepali.
Hi, I have been working with Runway, a fashion-based company right now here in Ireland. And before that, I completed my diploma in information technology. And following by that, I completed my bachelor's in computer science. And I worked for 7 years as a full stack developer in Semantic, Amdocs, and Docker software back in India. And I recently graduated from University College Dublin in information systems.
Great. That interesting brand, actually, you're working at, Rent the Runway. They launched a few years ago, but they've really tracked up, aren't they? For people that don't know, they're an online fashion platform where people are renting high-end pieces of clothing, aren't they? Quite a very big digital brand launched in New York, so it's a very busy website indeed. Our marketing team actually interviewed Deepali for the website, and maybe for some of the people who didn't get to see that, I might ask the questions now just before we start the lesson to get a bit of background. So the first question they asked you was, what attracted you to web development?
Actually, since my early childhood, I used to watch cricket with my dad. So that made me find a lot of information about cricket, players, matches, everything. So at the age of 17, I decided to develop a website of my own called Cricket Crazy. And it had all the information about matches, all the teams, players, world records, everything. And that was the time that I realized I have massive passion for web development as well. And that's when I decided that I want a career in web development.
Wow, so it all started with your love of cricket. So actually, the Indian Cricket League, hasn't it? The IPL has just started again. So what team are you watching? Are you supporting?
Yes, I am from Chennai Super Kings team. So it's because Mahendra Singh Dhoni is my favorite player. So that's the reason I support Chennai Super Kings.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, for people who are just tuning in, they're like the Manchester United of cricket India. And MS Dhoni is probably one of their big legends. I think he's still playing, isn't he? Okay. So what does a day look like for you working as a full stack web developer at a place like Rent the Runway?
So on typical day, I work on developing a feature in existing website. So it can vary from developing a new feature to creating a new website from scratch as well, depending on what type of project that I'm working on. But for the whole time, providing the best user experience is the key. So that's why I love working on this part of the career.
It's becoming more, isn't it, about user experience in the business world these days? Really is. So look, there's a lot of people watching this who might be, thinking, this is something I might want to do. I might change my career to become a web developer. So what would you say to people? What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about moving into this area?
Actually, the web development technology stack is very dynamic and diverse in nature these days. However, every web development framework is based on like core basics of few technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So anyone who is willing to get into web development should stick to basics of these technology stack. And with these firm basics, one can quickly learn any new web development framework and can easily learn everything about it.
Okay, so if you get a firm foundation of the basics, you're saying you can build on your knowledge as you move through your career. Might be good to know for some people who are, because I know it can be daunting looking at this. There's quite a lot in it when you look at it in the whole, but if you break it down piece by piece, you can learn it and build up your knowledge. And one last question was, so why is web development important to companies? And I suppose some of the companies you've worked at as well. I mean, Symantec is a huge one as well, isn't it? It's a big cybersecurity company and went to Runway, of course.
Exactly. Like these days, everything is on the web, internet, and information is the key. So, like web development is crucial to keep customers engaged by presenting a good experience, good user experience to the users, and that in turn provides visibility to the business, and it expands the business reach as well. So, for enhancing any business operation, web development is key for any business.
Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? I suppose you'd be hard pressed to name any company now that doesn't have a web presence or a website.
Exactly.
I mean, and obviously here at Dublin Coding School, we base all of our courses on, I mean, what we look at the jobs market and we look at jobs being advertised and we build our courses around those. So we selected web development because just for that very reason. We saw the jobs growth in the area, and that's why we've developed the course. So I suppose now might be a good time to talk about what we were going to talk about this evening, which was an introduction to web development. So I know we've got some slides prepared, and just for the viewers, I'll just summarize what we were going to what Deepali is going to speak about. So we're just going to have a quick intro to web development, show you the technologies involved, show you what's called full stack web development, where it's the front end and the back end, and tell you what the difference is between the front end and the back end. Then I asked Deepali to pick out one technology to explore a bit further, and she said she'd explain JavaScript with a few examples. And then after we do that, we'll take some questions at the end. So that's pretty much the agenda we'll move through. So it's the introduction, front end, back end, the differences, and then looking at JavaScript with some real live examples. So I'll hand over maybe to Deepali to begin.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. I'll share my screen. Please let me know once it is visible. You can see the
Yeah,
screen?
that's up there. I think you probably just have to click present, do you, or to get it up on the. That's it. Yeah, looking good.
Sure. uh, so before starting with the actual presentation, we all access any website through our laptops, mobiles, or desktops that are connected to the internet. And like in any web development application, there are two main components, front end and back end. So anything that we see on the screen while we visit any website is the front end side of the application. And the actual information that we see on the screen is residing somewhere on the back end on the server. And that part which acts around the curtain is called back end of the application. So database is the place where the actual information is stored. And the technologies such as PHP, Java, or Node.js, these can be used alternatively to fetch and pass the information from the server to front end side of the application to show on the UI. Uh, and in terms of front end side of the application, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the common or foundation technologies that are used to develop any website. Where HTML is a hypertext markup language, it is the foundation of the web. And with this, we can create structure of a website, how we want to show the website to the users. CSS is cascading style sheets, so it deals with everything, how we want to present the information to the user. So it can be fonts, it can be colors, so anything with respect to presentational aspects of the websites are handled by CSS. And JavaScript is used where the user interactions are involved. So any dynamic website where there are where user can click on something, user can do some actions on the website. So there JavaScript is being used. And any business logic that is glued to the user action is part of the backend, and it is handled on the server side of the application.
Okay, so just to quickly say there, so what you're saying is that the front end really is the part of the website that the customer might see. So everything that you see when you interact in HTML kind of with the text, CSS with the color and the imaging, and JavaScript with all the interactivity. Is that really what you were saying there? Yep. Okay.
That's right. So like if we take a real-time example of how this architecture comes into picture. So like for registering for this today's event, you must have visited the Dublin Coding School's website. And here on the right hand side, you can see that there's a little form where you can select the event, enter your details, and then click on register. So everything that you see on the screen when you visit the website, so this is the front end side part of the application. And here, when you will enter the details and click on register. So when you click on register, the JavaScript, because this is an interaction that a user is, this is an action that user is taking. So JavaScript will come into picture at this place. And this information that you have entered by registering will be stored on somewhere on the server. So that will be taken care by backend side of the architecture. So like to summarize, like whatever we see on the screen on our phones is front end, and whatever actions that are being made but that we cannot see on the front end are handled by the backend side of the application.
Okay. By the way, I'd just like to let everyone know who's watching. If you have a question, if you just type it underneath the feed, and we will get to it at the end. So any questions? So that's interesting there. So this is actually our website. So the people who've registered today, and you're saying so JavaScript seems to be something that is sending messages but back and forth between the front end and the back end, but also the server and everywhere else seems to be the as well. I'll let you define it, but it's interesting.
But you're right. That's right. That's a simpler way to put it. Uh, and these are like commonly used technologies that can be used alternatively for developing any web application. So as we already discussed, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these are the foundations of any web development. And there are some modern web development frameworks as well that are built based on these three technologies. Uh, that can be any modern frameworks like React.js, AngularJS, or Vue.js, but their foundation is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So, like as I was earlier saying, if anyone is clear with the basic concepts of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, can learn any new framework that can be added onto this line. And like in terms of backend, so choosing a backend technology can depend on project to project. So JavaScript, Node.js, PHP, Python, these are the technologies that can be used alternatively based on the type of application. But for any web development, in terms of front end, these HTML, CSS, and JavaScript will be common to everything.
Okay. Yeah.
And in terms of a database, so MySQL and MongoDB are like commonly used databases to store the information that user can enter from front end. It goes through backend, and then it is actually stored onto the database.
Very good. And regular viewers of our online lessons will know a bit about SQL already.
Yeah, through data analytics course.
Yeah, that's right.
So if so for this session, we can go deeper into the JavaScript portion of the front-end technology stack.
Okay, just to point out, obviously on the course, you'll be learning about all of these in detail. But for the purposes of this evening, we're just going to look at one to explain them. If people were asking questions about what all of them are, we've chosen one. Well, Deepali chose it to go through, and it was JavaScript. So there you go.
Yeah. So as I already mentioned that JavaScript is the programming language for the web. So there are basically two types of website, static website and dynamic website. So a good example of static website is Wikipedia, where we can just read the information. There's very little amount of user interaction involved. But other examples of dynamic websites can be Google, Facebook, Amazon, like any website where user interaction is the key. So JavaScript is used to handle the user interactions. So any dynamic content creation that where it is involved, JavaScript is used there. So for example, it can be something to register, as our previous example, for registering an event, JavaScript was involved there. Even for YouTube, where we see embedded videos inside a website, or any other website where multimedia is involved, so there JavaScript is used, or animated images, or uh, uh, any website where we can see the live tweet feed inline. So everywhere, so these are like examples of classic dynamic website with JavaScript. So in simpler words, JavaScript is a glue that uh, that holds together the information and the interactions that browser has to understand. Like, what if user clicks on some button? So what should be the next action? So JavaScript is used to handle that part of the web development.
Yeah, just a question for myself. So is JavaScript sending messages to other parts of your website in a way? So you're saying if someone clicks on a button, like if even for instance, if they're registering for the event tonight, when they click on register, does JavaScript then send messages to other parts of the website, the front end and the back end?
In a simpler words, yes, it does.
Yeah.
So it tells the browser, it tells the website what next page to be shown or what next action to be taken. So
okay, so it's
the interactions.
So it starts a domino effect of actions. Once a customer clicks on something, JavaScript sends out the messages of what happens next, and it keeps sending out what happens next as the customer keeps clicking on things.
Hi, Luke.
Yeah, great. Okay, we keep going.
Hi, Luke.
Okay, sorry about that. I think the internet just went down a bit, but if we're back on live, you can continue on. Sorry about that.
No problem. So the things that we discussed, this is the basic definition of JavaScript, but we can have look at how exactly the JavaScript works on the browsers that we have on our mobile phones and laptops.
Yeah.
So as we already discussed that HTML, CSS and JavaScript works together and builds a website. So we can see our website on any browser from our devices. Like, it can be Chrome, it can be Safari, it can be Firefox. And in our browsers, there is something called JavaScript engine. So JavaScript engine understands the concepts of JavaScript. So whatever we have programmed in JavaScript, that on a particular event, what should be the next action. So that is handled by JavaScript and a JavaScript engine, and it tells browser what to do next. So browser, in simpler words, browser understands the language of a JavaScript engine, and JavaScript, CSS, and HTML all together tells JavaScript engine what to do. And like where, as I previously told, like any dynamic website that we see these days uses JavaScript in their websites. So these are like few websites that I have named, but from Amazon to Netflix, any social media website, like any user interactive website that we see uses JavaScript. So in terms of scope, there's a lot of scope where a web developer is needed.
So all those brands that you showed are using JavaScript for all of their customer interactions. That's what you're saying. So it's absolutely crucial, isn't it, for a web developer
It's
to understand
everywhere.
it? Yeah.
So to understand how exactly JavaScript works in real time, we can look at few examples. So every one of us must have visited Amazon at once. So let's take an example of buying a Harry Potter book from Amazon. So for buying a book from Amazon, first we'll go to the Amazon website, and then we'll search for Harry Potter book, and uh, and then there will be a list of books with available with these kinds of description, and then we'll navigate to the actual book and add to a basket. So let's see how exactly JavaScript is embedded to perform these actions to until buying a book. So here you can see like we have already searched for Harry Potter books, and then we have got the actual book that we want to buy. So any user action that we can see on the screen, like on right hand side, we have option to buy this book right now, or adding this book to the basket, or adding this book to the list as well. So JavaScript, there's JavaScript associated with every action, to add to basket, to buy now, to add to list. So for every user action, there's JavaScript programmed somewhere in the background where it tells what to do next. So in this case, suppose we want to add this book to the basket. So we'll click on add to basket. So when we click on add to basket, so JavaScript will tell the browser that user has added this book to their basket, and it will show a notification that it has been added to the basket, and it will show other options as well. So user can go and edit the basket, or user can proceed for checkout. So even for these actions, for editing the basket, or for proceeding the checkout, there's a JavaScript JavaScript programmed behind it that will show the browser that to go onto the edit screen or to go onto the checkout screen.
Okay, so JavaScript is basically sending all of those messages everywhere to update. Now that you've clicked on the book, it appears in the basket. JavaScript told it to do that. This message appears. All these things are being told what to do by JavaScript.
Exactly. And the user experience that we were talking about. So when user clicked on add to basket, so there's a glowing notification panel coming up on top of the website that shows that lets user know that this has been added to the basket, and these are the actions that user can take.
Yep.
So user experience and website development, I would say, go hand in hand.
Yep.
Another example that we can look at is our day-to-day throughout day-to-day activity is ordering a burger from Uber Eats. It's almost the end of the day, so we can actually order a burger. So for ordering a burger, the list of actions that a user needs to do is to search for burger, to navigate to the burger, and actually ordering the burger to our address. So the screen on the right, it shows the burger that we want to order for us. So it has a list of options for the drinks that we want to buy alongside this burger. So user can select any one of these, and then there are two actions associated with it. We can add one more burger, or we can order only one burger that we have already selected. So here, if user clicks on minus or plus, there's a JavaScript program which will let the website know that this user is ordering two burgers. Or when if user clicks on just add one burger to order, it will it will tell the website that this is the current user's order, that user is ordering a burger, and it will note it will show user an option to go for the checkout, to payment, and to ordering the actual burger. So here, like even here, we can select any number of burgers, and after this, the price will update. The price here also will update. So JavaScript will work here. Like JavaScript will tell that user has now chosen 2 burgers, so this price will change. So even JavaScript is used on the same page as well to show or to tell the website that something has been changed. User has taken some action, and it needs to be updated. So like in a nutshell, like these are our day-to-day used websites and how JavaScript is used there.
Yeah, great. And I suppose I hope we're not making everyone hungry because it's around dinner time in Dublin right now, and we're showing them pictures of burgers. That's very good. So I just want to check. So if anybody does have questions, they can type them in underneath, and we will get to them, or they can email them in. So now would be the time for some questions. I see one has come through here from I believe it's Sinead, who's asking, do I need to be good at mathematics to do this? So I know a lot of people sometimes can be intimidated by these courses and think it's all maths and algebra and equations. So maybe you could demystify that, Deepali. And do you need to have a
No, not at all. Mathematics is not at all needed. Even I would say like there are with JavaScript there are inbuilt math libraries that we can actually use wherever the actual calculations are needed in any application where like mathematics is involved. So as a developer, we don't need to actually be expert in any of the field, like maybe mathematics or any other field. Just that if we truly learn the basics clearly from start, it will be good to go.
Okay, maybe we could just stop sharing the screen there so we can get. But so you're saying it's not really based on mathematics. It's almost something different entirely. Just to see here, we have another one come through saying how easy is it getting a role as a web developer, as an entry level? I don't know. I can probably answer that one. I don't know if you want to start by answering that. Would you be able to answer that?
Like even I joined as a web developer when I was a fresher. Like I was just a college pass out and I joined as a web developer to start with. So like it is easy, getting an opportunity and then like showing your interest properly. I think it makes it all.
Yeah, and maybe I could answer that one as well, because I know that obviously at the Dublin Coding School, we have the course which goes through all of the topics, and you'll do quizzes and you get the certificate at the end. But what we also try and do is have you build a portfolio. I know maybe using the art college example, where to get into an art college, you need to demonstrate a portfolio of work that you've done to show you can do it. We take a similar approach. I know on this course, you'll be building a website as a project. I believe we have some open source AI technology that you are going to use for the students to build a website so they can demonstrate that they've created something with a front end and a back end. And that would go on their technical portfolio, which you can show to people in interviews. And obviously, we try and help you get those interviews as well with our hiring companies and internships. I know we're in talks with quite a large computer game company at the moment who are having an internship program for web developers over the summer. And we're looking to be part of that. So they're the types of people that we look to partner with and get you in the front door. I'll just double check to see if there is any more questions, or was it just those two? It's those two for now. So if any more questions do come in just while we're finishing, I'll surely ask them. But just to finish up really, I wanted to talk a little bit about the course. I was going to throw out a special offer to anyone watching this, that if you get in touch with me in 1 week, so today is Wednesday, if you can get in touch with me by next Wednesday using the code word Java, we will take 15% off the course, our next group going out. Obviously, the course is 1590. So we take 15% off that if you get in touch with me with the code word Java. So I'm thinking maybe only people who watch this will know the code word if you stuck it to the end. And just a bit more info on the course. They're in groups of 12. We like to keep the numbers small so people can ask questions. It can be interactive. I know some of the schools, other places have large classes of 30. We think it's really optimal to be 12 to get the best learning experience. And when you are registered on, you get what's called a second chance. So if you do book and pay with us, you get to do the course, you go into the career center, all of that. After your 3 months, you're applying for roles. But then maybe in 6 months or 7 months, you might say, you know, I want to go back and brush up on JavaScript, or I want to go back and brush up on HTML, you can resit the course again for free within 12 months. So when you book it, you actually get the chance to do it twice. Now, not everyone does. I would say maybe 1 in 5 people do, but it's there as a safety net because we realize that, you know, these are technical subjects you're learning, and sometimes it mightn't sink in. If you've spent 10 years working in hospitality or working as in construction or something like that, you might want 2 goes at this just to make sure it sinks in. You might even sit it again after you've got a job just to brush up on your skills, to keep sharp. So that's something we offer as well. That's kind of it. I'll let you know that if you want to get in touch with us, our website is dublincoding.ie. That's where you can see the courses, all of them, and web development. And if you want to get in touch with us, actually get in touch with me directly. It's luke@dublincoding.ie if you have any questions. And we're always, if you do email in, we're open to have free career consultations for you with your first call. So we'll talk about your background, listen obviously to what you're looking to achieve, and then we can help you out and advise you with your next steps. And that's all free as well. So if you want one of those, go to the website or email me, luke@dublincoding.ie. So I'll just double check if there were any last minute questions there. And we don't at the moment. So no, so that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll just say to Deepali, if you'd like to say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching this thing. Thanks all.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And we look forward to hearing from you. Okay, bye-bye.
Goodbye.